So welcome everybody this morning to hear from our Western Athletics Olympians, Amy Cashin, Jack Rayner and Morgan Mitchell. In the spirit of reconciliation, Western Athletics acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. I'll now pass over to our host this morning, Michael Masseni, who'll be chatting to our three Olympians. Thanks, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Claire. And good morning, everyone. During the session this morning, we'll be talking to each of our Olympians for about 20-25 minutes or so. So Jack will be first up, then we have Amy and then Morgan. Along the way, if anyone has any questions for the three of them, just pop them in the chat. And we can either get to them at the time or all together. So any questions that pop into your mind along the way, pop them in the chat and we can ask them of our three athletes. Well, we're all athletes today, here today listening, aren't we? Our three Olympians, I'll say. Just to kick things off, I was chatting with a mate a while ago when we, I guess, had official news that we had three Olympians for Western Athletics, and thinking even further to that three of them distance runners. So Morgan in the 800, Amy in the steeplechase and Jack in the marathon, and thought that was probably pretty special, and had a bit of a look through all of the people who had qualified for Tokyo and looked at the club assigned to them. And it's only one other club in Australia who has three distance runners who qualified for Tokyo, and that's Bankstown in Sydney. And then there's only a handful of clubs that actually had more than more than three Olympians full stop. So yeah, it is a pretty special thing for Western Athletics to have three Olympians. And I think even more special than that, it's three Olympians who have been part of the club for 10 to 15 years now, a long, long time. So homegrown athletes, which we'll talk a bit about this morning. So yeah, glad we can sit down and do this. Glad we can record it and have it for the years to come. And hopefully it's not the last time that we'll have three Olympians representing Western Athletics at the Olympics. So, Jack, are you ready?
Yeah, ready to go. Hey, Mick, how are
you? Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
That's good. So with each of our athletes this morning, I've sort of thought of your individual pathways to Tokyo and how they're all sort of different, I guess. And with yourself, Jack, I think the key thing is that you started marathon running at a relatively young age. I know we sort of look at the Africans and some of the Europeans these days, but traditionally, you sort of think, I'm not 30 yet, I can't do a marathon.
Yeah,
I know, that's what I always thought anyway.
Almost, yeah. People are a bit afraid to do one when they're younger, but
yeah,
I did a half marathon when I was quite young, so I was like, always wanted to give it a go, and then yeah, it turned out well in the end.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll chat a little bit about that transition, I guess, from the track to the marathon. I always think of that transition starting in, I think it was 2018, when you won every road race in Australia that there was to win.
Yeah.
Yourself and Sinead just went on the circuit. We will get to that though. I want to kick it off with hearing about your early years, and I think I was lucky enough to know you as soon as you started Little Athletics and started running training back in the day. So yeah, tell us about that. Tell us how it all started.
Yeah, just struggled to find a sport I really enjoyed when I was really young. So I was stumbled upon cross country, and then that led into going to all the ATSVIC teams for that as a youngster. And then when it was time to join a club, I was in Western Ats. So yeah, still with them now. But yeah, all those cross country years over the races, all the track races, everything, it's just all played a big part in becoming a professional athlete.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started with Western Athletics, do you think?
Good question. I don't even know.
Little Athletics. Were you one of the 6 or 7 year olds that started at Little Athletics at
Yeah, I would have been about a bit older, maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah. So right from the start, and training with a group straight from the start as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Found Keith Fernley's group, which you were already a part of when I joined. I would have been about 8 or so, and then stuck with Keith till I was 21 almost.
Yeah.
So had great years there.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess a lot of, you said you did, you do the track stuff, obviously. I always remember you, entering those 1500s, 800s and all that, like, rather than the shorter stuff during Little Aths days. And you probably are someone who has always leaned towards that longer distance.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you wish you ever did dabble in other sports along the way? Because you are sort of a bit of a unique case in that you didn't do many other sports as a junior.
No, I kind of enjoyed just running. I didn't really enjoy any other team sports. So yeah, just running was fine for me. No. And I really excelled at cross country, I'd say. So I didn't really find I was good at track until I was a bit older, like 17 or so. So yeah, even then, anything short, I just wasn't great at it. Yeah, had no speed. But yeah. As I've gotten older.
I guess we just play with the cards that we're dealt. Play with our advantages.
Definitely.
So I guess talking about, you becoming better at the track around when you were 17, I remember a race in Perth at
National 5
Nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an interesting one because that, I don't know, it seemed like a real standout race at the time. Tell us about that race. I'm sort of keen to hear it from your perspective.
So I'd done a couple of lead-in races and then didn't think I was going to go to nationals at all. And I ran around 15 minutes or so. So I was like, okay, but never really that broke through. And then, going into nationals, I wanted to run well and I ran like 32nd or so PB. So that kind of put me in scope of the World Juniors. So I was like maybe 14 seconds out. And then I thought, the shoe in for next year. And then I got a bit closer again, but never actually qualified for World Juniors. So I was kind of good, but not great. And then, after another couple of years, joining Melbourne Track Club was when I really excelled.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting that you say, you used to rate your performance as good, but not great. I mean, now you obviously are great running at the Olympics and making multiple Australian teams. But I always remember you making Victorian teams, but I don't ever remember you winning nationals.
No, I won national cross country when I was in Albany in WA.
When you were a bit older.
That would have been one of my good races when I was a bit younger. But most of the time I'd make it to nationals and then run okay, never amazing, but sort of mid-teens or whatever, like 6th or 7th some years, but never really right up there every year.
Yeah.
So some of the other guys were just 1st, 2nd every year, like your Luke Matthews and that.
Yeah, well, that's the name that just popped in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you were always thereabouts, but never the top dog, so to speak. When did that all sort of change? Because I mean, we just talked about your transition from the road to the marathon, and in 2018, I remember a lot of your squad went overseas, but you decided to stay in Australia and do a lot of road.
Yeah, it wasn't really my decision. I would have loved to go overseas, but kind of got told to stay back and just see what you can do in Australia. So I think that was really the best decision that I didn't even make.
For you.
I did have a season in 2017 with Melbourne Track Club going over to the States and into Europe. And I did well there. I ran a few races and improved my times a bit, but I was never really like Olympic standard, which was quite tough. And then nationals in early 2018 in not Gold Coast, it was in Brisbane. Ran there and then ran 5th or so with not a great time. So that's when, straight after that was when everyone was going overseas and I got told to stay back. So I was like a little bit disappointed, but then kind of really shone through on the roads that year.
Especially considering you beat Matt Centrowitz the year before.
Yeah. And then I had no really intentions of doing longer stuff, but then there's a few half marathons on the calendar. So I did Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and then Cardiff half marathon as well in Wales, Commonwealth half.
Yeah, well, that was the one that really sort of capped off the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Still probably my best race to date.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love, is it on Runners Tribe, the poster of you crossing that finish line?
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure.
One of the books. Now, was that around the time when you might have thought maybe marathons on the cards sooner rather than later?
Yeah, actually, the week after Cardiff, I got back, and then Melbourne Marathon was on. So I paced Sinead till 30K, and that was probably harder than running the race the week before, because I was pretty tired, and then she's pretty quick. And then, going up the town at about 30Ks when I stopped, and I'm like, oh, she's amazing. How is she still going? Yeah.
So that, I guess.
And then after that, then Brett was going to do a race in December in Japan, a marathon, and he was trying to get me to train with him. And I was just a bit hesitant, thinking it was a little early for me to start. And then the next year rolled around and we had London in our sights, so we did that instead. Yeah,
so I guess it all sort of happened pretty quickly, because you said that, the pacing Sinead to 30 kilometers didn't exactly inspire you. Yeah, it was just, it was interesting. I wanted to know what it would be like after doing a proper marathon block, which, they're tough. They're never smooth sailing the whole way through, but getting to the start line is the hardest part about them. Yeah, well, let's talk about that. I know that this year, obviously, the result at Tokyo and the preparation didn't go to plan. No. The first marathon you ever did, you nailed. You qualified for the Olympics. I remember sitting in a living room in Altona with your parents and some others from Western Athletics, watching that race. Yeah. And there was the funniest thing, actually. When you crossed the finish line, we said, oh, he's going to the Olympics. And your dad's sitting there. So, what? I said, your son is going to the Olympics. He's like, oh, that's all right, isn't it? that
sounds about right.
Yeah. So that seems so long ago now. I guess
it does seem like a while.
Yeah.
I haven't really had a proper chance to do many others besides London. I did New York, which didn't go to plan with a stress fracture in my sacrum mid-race. Then trained for London Marathon last year and got injured a month before the race, and then injured a month before this one. So I think I have to change training a little bit going forward for my next one.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to get too specific, but what sort of things do you think you would change, or have, what have you learned over the past?
Just mainly load monitoring. Like, it's easy starting the marathon blocks, but once you're sort of 8 weeks in, then everything's you're a bit tired and everything. Just knowing when to take things a little easier for a while to let your body reset it a bit. Because the last few have been just going well, keep improving, and then things go wrong, like whether it's muscular injury or bone injury, which pretty much stops you in your tracks. I have to do a few things, whether it be with diet, bone monitoring, loading, that kind of thing. But yeah.
You mentioned you're off to VIS after this as well. Is a sort of strength rehab plan all part of that?
Yeah, I got a new strength and rehab program, which we're doing a couple of times a week, and then seeing the dietitian there. So they're doing everything they can, really. Have to get another DEXA scan to see how my bones are healing. So hopefully that goes well.
I always remember you not being the biggest fan of strength, all the extra strength stuff when you're sort of a junior. Has that also changed since you started marathon running?
A little bit, yeah. One of the things that when training had picked up a lot, like running almost 200K weeks, you're kind of tired. And then if you stop doing the strength side of things is when things can go wrong. So I think that's one of the flaws I had in the last couple, not doing enough of that kind of work within my full training week.
Yeah.
So placing more importance on that strength and conditioning side, as well as the running.
It's an interesting thing as well, because to do more running, you need to get stronger and you need to do more.
Yeah,
strength
it's all
work.
that balance.
You
really.
need it. Well, yeah, exactly. And how do you balance everything with, with your running, with other parts of life? I mean, you're living as a professional athlete now,
Yeah.
everything else that's going on. How do you sort of find that balance, or is it all running based?
Yeah, pretty much all running based. So I do coaching as well, which is my other job. But yeah, now we haven't raced for ages, so it's like you do kind of just get into a routine, and then week in, week out, you're doing similar things. But yeah, looking forward to when races are back on and you can kind of have a bit of excitement again. But hopefully I'll be in December when Melbourne Marathon goes ahead, if it does.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, you're doing a lot of coaching now for rec runners, and we have a few that are looking to do that marathon.
Yeah, a few that I coach will be looking to do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then with all the others that are with Pulse, yeah, there'll be a big heading out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure. Maybe 30 or so.
Yeah, it's been great. That's one of the great things that sort of, I reckon it's definitely come out of COVID is lots of people going to the online
for sure.
online coaching. I mean, I've done it myself.
Yeah.
But also, it's really helped lots of people, get some extra guidance as well. Like more people started running. It's an opportunity for lots of people to sort of pass on their knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing. There's so many people starting running, but they just have no idea what to do. They'll just head out the door and try and run hard every time they do it and wonder why it's so hard.
Classic. Yeah. Sounds like the first 5 minutes of a call with an athlete.
Yeah. Exactly. You know it all too well.
Yeah. Now, I guess we sort of just mentioned giving back to the running community and helping other people. How important is all of that being connected to the running community? And I mean, Western Austs as well, like you're living in Kew now. Why are you still part of a club down in Werribee?
I'll always be Western Austs. I'm in Glen Iris, actually, not Kew.
Oh, sorry.
Close enough. Yeah, Western Austs has just been so welcoming as soon as I joined the club. So yeah, I don't think I'd ever join any other club. I'm trying to even get my girlfriend over there, but she won't join. But
we'll talk about that offline.
Exactly. They've just been so welcoming right from the start, and then definitely wouldn't be probably where I am today without Western Athletics. So very grateful in that regard.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap things up, actually. Are there any questions that have come through from anyone who's listening for Jack? Because he does have to duck off to the VIS for a session pretty soon. So if there are any questions for Jack, just pop them in the chat. Yeah,
I can stick around for another 10 minutes, so it's fine.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, actually, Dwight has sent through a question. So, how frequently were you running per week in training in preparation for your races, particularly around the time of your injuries? Usually, or hearing that you're usually getting injured about a month or so before.
That's been a couple of times now, so hopefully it's not going to be a recurring thing.
A couple of times.
But yeah, for a marathon block, we'd be training twice a day, pretty much every day except for a Sunday. So lots of running. I think I got up to consistent weeks above 180k, up to 200. So yeah, a lot of running. So yeah.
I'm interested in how much of that is what you would call harder running. Let's say faster than 10k or half marathon pace.
Not a whole lot really. Would be a Tuesday, would be some faster reps, say K reps or 2k reps. That'd be pretty at a faster pace, like 10k or so. And then Friday would be like a big marathon session, where that'd be like about 20k worth of efforts. That would be about around marathon pace or a touch quicker, so around that 3-minute mark. And then sometimes we'd be doing faster, like 20 to 30-minute blocks at the end of our long runs on Sunday. So not a whole lot at a super quick pace, but then the rest, like easy runs, some days would be like 4-minute pace. Yeah, so I just did quick maths then, and maybe about 15% of your total mileage might be, half marathon pace or quicker. Yeah, so it's
maybe not
really
even
a whole lot when you look at it that way.
exactly. Lots and lots of long, slow running.
Yeah.
Was that a good question to ask, Berkey? Is that all the aerobic stuff? And I know that's, many, many years of doing that longer, slower running sort of set you up well to transition into the marathon, as we say, relatively younger.
Yeah, relatively.
Mal Hodger sent through just about food nutrition. So, what's a classic pre-race meal? It might depend on what time of the day the race is.
Yeah. So, when I was a few years ago, or even 2 years ago, I wouldn't really look at the nutrition side of things in as much detail. So I'd have pre-race meal as like a big pizza or something. Try and not have it like meat lovers or anything, but just like a margarita or something with a lot of carbs. But nowadays I'll have just like a lot of rice in the lead up to a race. If it's a marathon, I'll carb load for a few days with mainly rice and other plain foods. But yeah, carbohydrate rich meals a few days before races.
Yeah, cool. Another one. Questions are flowing through now. That's great to see. Okay, after the New York Marathon, you said you got a stress fracture in your sacrum.
Yeah.
I remember you had a pretty specific plan when you could start running again. That was sort of to get you back to X amount in 30 days. There was a build up. So how long did it take to get back to full running after your stress fracture?
I had 13 weeks without running after this stress fracture. So it was quite a long time. It was longer than I anticipated. And then, I ended up getting fit pretty quickly after that with a return to run program, like a generic one from stress fractures. But once I got fit again, it didn't take me long before I was back to full training. It was probably another 6 weeks after my first run where I was back to full training. Yeah.
That's well, I guess, you've got obviously the bone thing's a bit different. You have to wait for it to completely heal up, I guess. And then, then you're working on the fitness, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Strength around all that. So 6 weeks, not too bad, really.
Yeah, you get a bit of a refresh anyway with a lot of time off, and you get motivation back, which is nice.
Yeah. And Breeze just asked how many strength sessions you do a week, and do you get any massages?
So I do 2 at the moment, and then I have 1 massage a week. So, yeah.
Very good. All right, Jack. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I'm sure everyone found it really interesting to hear from you.
Cheers, Mick.
Well, good. Chat again soon.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, and we might get Amy up on screen now.
Hello.
Hey, Amy, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Or should I say good evening? You're what
Yeah.
time is it for you in America right now?
It's 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
So it's not terrible.
Not too bad. We've found a good sort of a good balance in in the times.
Yeah, it's quite good. I was actually at a volleyball game, so I've just been able to come upstairs to the academic resource centre for the athletes to use for this.
Oh, nice. Nice. I've been seeing all the videos from the college football games that are going on and the crowds and everything. You haven't been involved in any of them, have you?
No, I get very scared. I haven't been to any games. And when I come to volleyball, I sit in our volleyball players, they play in the big basketball stadium, and I sit in a very far corner away from other people because I do not trust a lot of Americans, particularly West Virginia.
Nice. Well, that's probably a good way to kick things off.
Yeah. Yes.
So I guess, talking, you're coming to us from America now, and I said, the big picture thing that I was thinking of Jack's journey was transitioning from track to the marathon. I think a very, very obvious one for you is the whole college experience.
Yes.
Path that many it's becoming more and more popular amongst Australians. But it has to have completely changed your life. And we'll talk about that in more detail, because I'm sure we can sort of go on for a long time about it. But When did you? I mean, you were one of the 5 or 6 year olds who started at Werribee Little Athletics. Were you there from the very, very start, or?
I actually started in under 10s.
Okay.
Yeah, I started through school cross country. I did really well. PE teacher called my parents in and were like, "Hey, you should do some running." And my mum was like, "No, that's a bit of a silly sport." But then I guess Dad helped convince her to let me run. So then I joined Werribee Little Athletics under 10s. I believe it's my first year.
That sounds very strange from a Cashin saying, "Nah,
I know,
really
right?
go with this running thing."
Yeah. Now look at them both. They both run. So I always find it quite hilarious.
Not only do they both run, both household names of the Western Athletics Club.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I started off at under 10s, and your brother was there as well.
Yes.
Now, and I assume joining Western Athletics pretty soon after that.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I think I was like 12. I don't really remember. But I was quite young when I joined Western still.
I remember, I don't actually remember this in person, but I know these photos from the collar band from the Eckerton relays.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
we could only enter open age teams, and I'm pretty sure there was you competing as a 12 or 13 year old back in those
Yes.
athletics.
Oh, yes. It was always so much fun. I loved the collar band relays.
Good times. And were you being coached straight away? Because I mean, Berkey was your coach for a long time through Western Ath days. Did that start quite early?
Berkey can probably correct me on when he started coaching me. I think it was like I was either 11 or 12. I think he got Lauren Lane to approach me at a little athletics cross country thing and asked if I was interested in coming to just get some training. But I'd say my coaching was very relaxed my first year or so. I have vivid memories of going to the track, playing some soccer, and then building sandcastles in the sandpit. And my parents being like, "Why are we bringing you here? Like, you're not doing, like, you're just playing around." But Berkey, genius man. One of the reasons why I've been in the sport for so long is he has a way to develop the youth and keep them in the sport and not overtrain them too young.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see and hear that over and over again, and you can see the results from the athletes that Berkey coaches. It's very much his philosophy, and as you guys, all the younger athletes that started with him many years ago, now developing into older athletes, you can I guess see the proof of that. Even though playing soccer and building sandcastles might have seemed crazy, and why would someone who's on their local cross country go to running training and not run? You probably definitely had a plan there.
Yeah, definitely. It was so much fun. I loved coming to training.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a big part of the whole culture of a club, I guess. And you could see that through Berkey's squad. Now, you obviously went to college, and by your American accent that you've developed now, you can tell us many years that you took off.
You know what? When I was in Tokyo, they said I had a good Australian accent. Jen Lacaze or Jane Gregson, so that I sounded quite Australian. So I'm going to stick with that one.
Now that I'm actually listening for the accent, maybe it seems like it's gone back a little bit. I remember the first couple of times you'd come back and chatting to you at the track and just thinking, wow, it's certain words and phrases maybe.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I definitely did go through a few years where apparently my American accent was quite strong, but then it's come a bit more Australian. And I don't know if it's because I lived with an Australian for a few years that we just balanced each other out with it. Yeah,
that could do it. The transition to college, was it something that you were looking to do? Did you get tapped on the shoulder? Did Berkey say, "This is what you need to do"? That all come about?
So they approached my school, Werribee Secondary College, actually, some of the universities, and so my principal, Mr. Buden, would reach out to me, and I wasn't interested at first. I was like, there's no way I'm leaving Australia and going to America, like zero way. But Berkey and my parents were like, no, like, let's look into this. Particularly because I know, like, my parents are both teachers, and they've always stressed the importance of academics, and America is a great way to, you know, be able to pursue your sport, but also get the support academically. And so it was kind of like looking at that of, okay, well, that is a great opportunity. It was a very long process. Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot for it. It was, I mean, if you know my dad, he's very organized. He likes paperwork, so he did all that sort of stuff. And can't say I did a lot except answer messages here and there, but I think I was contacted by like 13 plus universities about it, and we just would like call them. I never did any visits. I didn't know that was a thing. I got a few national letters of intent, which you're not meant to get unless you're committing to that university. So that's kind of funny now. It's funny to look back at the recruiting process and be like, wow, I was clueless. Mm-hmm. But basically, I went to World Junior Cross Country Championships in Poland, and I met someone associated with West Virginia there, and I had a good chat. One of like the other Aussies who was going to America dragged me over and was like, talk to them, they'll help you out. And I was like, okay. And I talked to her, and then on the plane trip back to Australia, I had like massive breakdown. If anyone knows Mitch Brown, he got to deal with me being like, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm having a midlife crisis, which is very funny to look back at now. Like I was 18 years old, 19. But then West Virginia reached out to me, and one of the key things was like, I trust Berkey so much as a coach. He knows me very well, and I valued what he was saying, and he was encouraging me to go, but I wanted to be at a university where he likes the coach and likes the philosophy. So whenever I called a coach, we made sure Berkey got on the phone and spoke to them, because I'm pretty sure my parents can attest to this. After every phone call I got, I was like, yeah, I'm going there. That's it. So they were able to kind of help keep me kind of look in and ask the hard questions that I didn't think about. And then, yeah, decided West Virginia, and about a month or two later, jetted off on a plane, and 8 years later, and I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, so how long was your actual, I guess, your first course at college? I know it wasn't 8 years.
No. So your undergrads typically in America are 4 years long, but your scholarships are like 5 years long. So I graduated in 4 years, and then my coach was like, we still got another year. He was someone who very much pushed the academics. Like academics was very important to him to be successful. And so he was like, instead of extending it, because you can extend your degree to do it in 5 years, he's like, instead of extending it, why don't you apply for your master's? So then I did my master's degree, which was ended up being a 3-year program. And then last year in 2020, I was trying to decide the next phase of my life, and it just so happened that I stayed here I've just finished my first year of my PhD. So I've had a different like levels of education, different lengths of time, and it's going to be funny, I think my PhD might take me the shortest time.
Well, that's quite amazing. I mean, going over there you said that an important part of going over to college was the academic side. So, to stick it out for that long, you're not able to compete for the university still, though, even though you
No. Yeah, so I don't compete for the university. I can train with them. I volunteer coach with them, so I'm around them a lot. I have a normal training partner, Kelly McCabe, she just ran 9:32 for the steeple as a 19-year-old. So she's been kicking my butt a little in training, but I compete unattached. So I also don't have a sponsor or anything. So basically what happens is for the meet where I qualified for the Olympics, I just I flew myself out, paid for the hotel, paid for the race, did the race, and then just came back. It's just very much on my own. Sometimes I get to go to the meet that the girls are at. a lot of the big meets, it's just me traveling out there by myself, try to get some prize money here and there to help cover costs, because I work as a graduate. So the way it works in America is to get your schooling paid for after you're off scholarship is working as a graduate assistant, which is where you work 20 hours a week for the university. And then you get a stipend every month for rent and food. So I just save as much as I can from that stipend to help me travel around America.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about the balance of, training and life and everything, because, there are very strict rules with college and earning money and sponsorships and all that sort of stuff. So, it must be interesting how you sort of balance that all that out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I know I found out through undergrad that I was somebody that needed to be kept busy. Like I couldn't just focus on my running. So like I joined a lot of committees. I was president of the student athlete or commissionary here, and had these different responsibilities that kind of kept me busy and kept me living like a very well balanced life. If my running is too big, then it doesn't always go the best for me.
Yeah. You mentioned before that you were playing soccer and climbing on trees and building sandcastles and everything when you were younger, and you sort of did start off with minimal running to kick things off with. Did you do any other sports along the way as well?
Yeah, so gymnastics, I started when I was like 3, and I did it till probably like 11, 12, and I had some growing pains, stopped for a little while, and then I went back when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And when I went back, my sister Shani was my coach, and she and Berkey worked together to really just kind of make it strength-based, but also fun-based, because I just loved doing it so much. I wasn't very good, but I really enjoyed it. And so that was probably the main sport that I did with my running. And then I did swimming, as kids do, but kind of quit that to do running. But I think one of the biggest things Berkey got me involved with, I remember when I was like 14, he was like, you need to have an interest outside of sport, so that if you ever get injured or anything happens, like you have something, you're not just like, oh, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And so I actually joined the theatre club at my high school, and I became an avid theatre geek, where I'd spend a bunch of time after school doing plays and so forth. And so that took up a lot of my time in high school.
Yeah, cool. I don't mind a musical myself, so don't blame me for that. Well, that's great to hear, because having a bit of a balance and I guess balance amongst sport and other things, and also building up that training slowly, having a fun approach. Do you think that's a big part of why you've made your first Olympics at the age of 27?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And even like, I think I didn't really burn out from the sport. I did start to see a sports psychologist when I was like 15 for the mental side of it, because I am someone that gets pretty anxious just with general, like I get anxious at school. I typically do get anxious, so that support definitely helped me stay in it. But even when I came to America, I remember, like, you know how you said it's getting more and more popular? Well, when I was coming over, it wasn't very popular. Lyndon had done it, Grace Tech had done it, but not a lot of people had. Yeah. And it was kind of very controversial. And I remember I had a few coaches telling me that I was going to ruin my running career coming over here, because they were going to overtrain me and I was going to, get injured and never run well again or be heard of again. And I think one of the really nice things was my coach here very much listened to me, and was like, he spoke to Berkey. We saw how I trained, and while other girls might be running 100 minutes on a Sunday, I was just doing 60 minutes. It was still very much, I had a very long transition period with my training. If I remember, like, back in Australia, I never ran the day before a race. And in America, they always like do the whole 6K loop before a race. And I was like to my coach, I was like, don't know, that might tire me out a bit. So he's like, you just go run 10 minutes, just shake out the legs. So I think that helped, because now I'm able to build, and like I've gotten quite strong and my body can handle all the mileage. And so I just think that slow process really helped me out with that.
Yeah, perfect. That's it's, yeah, as you said, I reckon maybe about when you probably did go over 5 years ago, there was more of a stigma around go to America, get burnt out, high mileage. So it's so great to hear that Berkey had that relationship with your coach over in college, and you were able to manage your training load, so it was sort of comfortable for you, and continue that that slow build that Berkey had kicked off.
Yeah, like I don't think I actually started doing doubles until after my 5 years of running for WVU. I think I started that after I graduated.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good way to do it. Obviously, it's worked. Let's jump ahead to qualifying for Tokyo. And I guess my first question is, if Tokyo 2020 was actually in 2020, was the plan always to have a crack at qualifying, or is that something that's sort of just come about as the season progressed this season?
I mean, the plan was a lot of people don't realize, like, because it happened right as COVID hit, was in, I think it was February of 2020, I went and ran my first race of the year and ran 8:57 for a flat 3K. And my coach was like, oh, well, we've got to really give it a realistic look of making the steeple. Like, your water jumps suck, but we'll try, like, figure it out. And I had paced Jenny Simpson to a world record, and those, like, I was on a roll. I was like, okay, like, this is great. I'm fit, getting in some good training. And so I think, I wouldn't have flown back for nationals because we weren't, like, that sure, and it was quite expensive, but we would have tried to get into some races in America to see what I could have done. And I think that was, like, one of the disappointing things of 2020 was I never really got to see my true potential, which is why in 2021 it was so nice that I was able to kind of keep that, because I had some injuries at the end of 2020, so I was a little bit worried about how that would impact 2021, and so it was nice that it didn't affect it too much, and I was able to get that qualifier in, and
yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I mean, it seems like that, it might have all clicked and come together if you had the opportunity to do a bit more racing through 2020. So it's, I mean, it's so great that it actually did when you did get the opportunity in early 2021. So how was the whole Tokyo experience? Just tell us about that.
Oh, it was wicked. Honestly, one of the best things was just being around Australians, just because I've been, with COVID, I haven't been home since 2019, 2020. So it's been a while, but I did go into the games with an injury, and just being able to talk to all the older athletes and the physios and the doctors and see their perspective, it really helped change it for me. Like, the mindset going in, had a good chat with Jen Gregson about it and so forth. But it was I had a lot of fun. Before the race, I was definitely, like, really, really focusing on it, not doing any of, like, the badge swapping, but afterwards it was fun to, like, be able to get different countries' badges and show people that knew me when I was on Team Vic. I loved doing that. It was like Team Vicky, and I was like, wow, this is my childhood right here. So that was really cool. And it was just, it was nice. Like, I got to share a suite with Morgan, and, I don't get to see her very often. I got to room with Lyndon, who I think she was, like, my Team Vic captain when I was under 15s, under 16s. So it was just kind of nice to have that. It was very hot. But, like, the lady at check-in before our race was like, it is very hot, drink water, you might die. And we're like, that's maybe not supposed to tell us before we get on the track. Like, we don't want to think about dying. So, but it went,
translate.
Yeah, it was like, but it was really cool. And I think Australia had a really cool atmosphere. Like, when we would go and watch others, we were able to kind of get, like, empty stadiums. It's quite quiet, but I feel like we were able to get some energy going, get rowdy for everyone racing. So it was a good experience.
Well, yeah, I did notice that the cheer squad that Australia had out near the high jump area. That was really cool.
Yes.
Fun to be part of.
Well, we kind of had a misunderstanding and thought that one of the a group of us thought that one of the high jumpers, the Italian high jumper, was actually one of the Australians on the team's boyfriend. And so we were, like, getting really excited for him. And it turned out we had just completely understood the situation and they were not dating. She's dating a different Italian high jumper. So that was a really fun experience, because yeah, it was kind of exciting. Like obviously we had our Aussies like Brian and Stark, but being able to cheer on other amazing athletes there as well.
Yeah, regardless if they're girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever.
Yeah. Don't worry, we talked to her and she was like, no, Amy, and I was like, well, I might need to tell a few people that we were wrong.
Yeah. You did briefly touch on the fact that you're coming into the games with an injury. I guess, do you have anything that you've learned over the years with regards to injuries and overcoming injuries, and anything that you've sort of changed? I guess in your routine because of that.
I mean, so I had like perpetual back injuries from a very young age, like ribs popping out, that sort of fun stuff, costochondritis. And a key component for me was strength work, like Jack said. Like you've just got to have your body be strong. And I was in a bit of it was in a pretty bad cycle with my injury, because the back is very much related to the core. So when the back would get injured, I couldn't really do core or strength. So we had to like really take it slowly. And I think like when it turned around for me injury wise is I had took 6 months. Oh, was it 6 months? No, it was like a few months to just work in the weight room like 3 times a week, just really on focusing on, because I couldn't do a body weight squat with my biomechanics. So it's just like working on doing that. And now I can do like Olympic lifts in the weight room and be competent. Yeah, I'm just
change your
so
sport
strong
coming
now.
up.
I think so. I think I should go into weightlifting. I lifted with how my schedule was. I lifted with our thrower, she could squat like 400 and something pounds, which is like 200 and something kilos, I think. And I'm like there with my dinky little 100 and something pounds, like, oh yeah, I'm so strong. But yes, I think that was a key thing. And then just really listening to your body. We all want to run through injuries, and I think that's something that was difficult for me in the lead up to the Olympics. Was when I hurt my hamstring, I was very stressed out. I was like, I can't afford to be injured right now. I need to keep training. Like, this is the biggest race in my life. But if you keep training through it, it makes it worse. And so you've got to take that step back and be like, it's okay. Like, we can figure it out. If it's an important race coming up, and you've got a few weeks, you're not going to get that much fitness in those few weeks. It's about managing the pain. But if, you don't have anything coming up, just take that break. Listen to it and like find somebody you trust that you can talk to about it, because it's important to have that trust and that understanding. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and everyone's body is different, so don't compare yourself to someone else. So if it takes someone 3 weeks to recover, but like you're at 3 weeks and you're still in pain, don't panic. Like everybody's different. And then just very much like sleeping and eating. I know that that's key. I had a bit of a back injury last year and I was like very anxious with all of COVID going on. And when I get anxious, I like lose some of my appetite. And so I had to like force myself to eat, because otherwise my back was never going to get, like, when I was like feeling anxious, I still have to force myself to make sure I was getting as many calories as I can so that my body would recover. Because if I didn't fuel myself, I was just going to be perpetually stuck in this injury.
Yeah, well, that's good advice about not training through injuries, and I'm sure most of us on the call have been through this. But it's nice to hear from an Olympian that going through exactly the same thing that many of us have.
And I'm still going through it. Like my hamstring, because it was my hamstring before the Olympics that went on me, and we thought it was better, so I started training again, and like just 2 days ago it flared up again. And so today I took it off. Tomorrow I'll do a jog and see how it goes. And it's frustrating because everyone around you is back to running and you want to be inspired, but it's all about like, okay, what does my body need right now? What's like all my friends are playing basketball and volleyball, because we have my group, like the people I live with, we're very active. So when we're not in class, we're not running, we go out and we play spike ball, we play all that. And I think I sat for 2 hours just watching them play today. And like, well, that kills me because I want to be playing. It's what my body needs right now. And so it's just really about trusting yourself and your gut.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good advice. And we'll almost wrap it up there. If anyone's got any questions for Amy, just pop them through into the chat. But I will just finish off with one of my own in saying, what's next? I guess besides getting this injury right immediately, what's the next big goal? There's a few big major events coming up next year, obviously.
Yeah. So I think, it'd be nice to, like, short-term goal would be to try because indoor track is coming up, try get a good indoor track time, whether I run a 5K, because my 5K time is horrid because I've only ever done one in my life, or try to run get a mile PR for a 3K or something. But primarily the focus is on, world champs and Commonwealth Games and making more Aussie senior teams. That is the primary goal. And then I'll have the small goals along the way of how can I accomplish that.
Yeah, it's always nice getting some. I'll switch to my American and say PR in in other events that you might not have done all that often, or now that you've gone up to another level, revisit the 5K or the 100.
Like I'm pretty sure my 5K PB is like 16:30, so I would kind of like for that to change. We'll see.
Very good. Well, no questions will come through from the floor. Maybe I've just asked all the interesting ones myself, and everyone's content with that. So,
wait.
No, we do have a couple. So, all right. What helps you to enjoy running the most, and what sort of encourages you the most to keep going? Why are you still running all these years on?
I think I just really remember why I got into the sport. Like I said, I had so much fun training with Berkey at the start. As someone wrote in the chat, I'd climb trees. So I remember one time in America, I was kind of like in a funk with my running, and I went out for a run. I didn't bring a watch, and I just went and climbed trees and just did what I did as a child. And I came back so rejuvenated. And so I just remember why I do it. And I surround myself by some great people. Like if we look, I don't know how to turn. If you look over there are a lot of my training partners that have kept me sane, and we have so much fun. We have different talking, and then it's just I'm very intrinsically motivated. I that's just who I am as a person. I'm that way with school. I'm that way with athletics, and so I want to get the best that I can out of myself. And particularly moving to America, I wanted to really make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. That's makes a lot of sense. Now a couple of questions around sort of like your average weekly training. How many faster sessions? How far is your long run? What would sort of be typical?
So I'm a bit unusual. I do not track any of my mileage at all, so I cannot tell you in kilometers how far I run a week.
Don't mind that.
I do everything via minutes, and even then I don't keep track of that. I don't remember last time I wrote in my training journal, which do not recommend. Everyone get into the habit of that when you were young. I'm just terrible with it. But I would say my typical week when I'm not injured is I run 45 minutes to 55 minutes on a Monday. On Tuesday, I'll do a 30-minute run in the morning and then some kind of session in the afternoon, which changes just depending on where we are in the season. Wednesday is our midweek long run, so that's anywhere between 60 to 75 minutes of a run. Thursday is a 30-minute run in the morning, a 60-minute run in the evening. Friday is like a 45 to 55-minute run. Saturday, 30-minute run in the morning, session in the evening, or reversed around. And then Sunday is anywhere between 90 and 105 minutes. And again, it just depends. Like Sundays, I typically run fast, so I probably get more mileage on Sunday, even though it might not be as long as some other people. But I don't do a lot of speed. That's something like a lot of my sessions. So it's kind of funny, when I ran my 800 PB, I had not touched a track. I think I'd done like 10 by 1K on a trail and like an 8-mile tempo, and was able to go out and do that. So I don't do speed very often. Lead up to Tokyo, that changed because of my injury. We were kind of minimized what I was doing. But before that, it was very similar. I would do if I do speed, it would be after like 4x4 minute cut downs, head over to the track and do like 300-400s. So I'm sure Morgan will probably go into a lot more speed sessions than I do. But and then the week of Tokyo, the most I ran was 30 minutes a day.
Yeah, I like that. And I've sort of experienced that myself over the years. Sometimes I'll just be jogging around and not set foot on a track, and then go and do a track race and really surprise myself. Go, I haven't run that fast for 1 single kilometre in training, yet you stitch 5 of them together, and it just I don't know how it works, but I guess everybody's training is science.
I was gonna say, and that's the big thing I've learned is like everybody's different. So I can do I am very lucky that I can do that. Like I get really fit off doing endurance based work, and not necessarily, and I get really fast from that. I don't need to do strength, but I don't need to do speed, but I've got teammates who need to do the speed to get fast. Yeah. So it's just I'd say my biggest takeaway for that is don't compare yourself. If you need to do speed, you need to do speed.
Yeah. Fantastic. One final question from your dad. How do you fit in strength sessions with everything else you do? Well, I guess how many strength sessions are you doing?
So I do 2 a week. I actually have not done one recently. I do because right now we're just trying to get the hamstring fixed. I've just been doing all my rehab every day with the athletic trainer because I am lucky enough to still see the athletic trainer here. So I do core and pull-ups every night, but that's more of like a routine thing. I'm like my routine. So I do 10 minutes of core and then whatever my coach tells me for pull-ups. And then 2 times a week I do a strength session that's typically 60 minutes, sometimes longer. And it's nice because it's already set up in my schedule. Like I send them my schedule and then they tell me what time to come. And because it's a team, you just do it. Like I don't have to drive. Like I'm not like, oh, I have to go do it on my own. Like there's someone there watching over me. So I just am able to fit it into that schedule just because it became a part of my schedule at the very beginning of the semester.
Yeah. Very good, Amy. Well, thank you for your time this morning or tonight for yourself.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I've definitely missed Western athletics a lot. I can't wait to come back.
It will be great when you are able to come back. Good luck for everything in the coming months and
thank you. Thanks for having me. See you, everyone.
See ya. And now we have Morgan.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you going?
Yeah, pretty good. If you enjoyed listening to the others this morning, now it's your turn.
No, it was actually really good.
Where are you talking to us from now? Are you back in Melbourne or?
No, Melbourne next week. I'm still in Queensland. After we got out of quarantine, I was kind of like, not ready to go back into lockdown. So came up here just to hang out.
I don't blame you. That must be nice. So I've had a bit of a theme for everyone's, I guess, path to Tokyo, and Jack was going from the track to the marathon. Amy's the college years. For yourself, I think a big one over let's say this past Olympic cycle has been transitioning from 400 meters to start running more 800 meters, which probably fills a lot of people with joy who are on this call, stepping up to the real distance stuff. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I mean, a lot of people on this call would already be aware of what you've done, but competing in World Championships, Commonwealth Games, the Rio Olympics, which I was lucky enough to watch you at, over the 400 meters, and now, only the past couple of years transitioning into the 800s. I guess starting off at the start, you always seemed like the kind of athlete that did do a bit of everything. There's photos that pop up of yourself at cross-country races and little athletics days, and from a young age, were you sort of just one of those kids who did a bit of everything?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely translates into my work life now as well. I just like trying everything. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably self-diagnosed ADD, but I don't know. I just enjoyed trying different sports, different events, whatever my friends would do, I would do. Like Shelby Schumacher's up here. I caught up with her the other day, and we were she's an ex-athlete, and we were just laughing. Like we just did a shot put for fun to see who could throw further. Stuff like that I enjoyed, and I think the thing I liked most about cross country was not only obviously it's a race, but it was like, let's see who can run the furthest, the fastest. And being a little girl, I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Then I got a little bit older and it got harder, so I moved to the sprint. And the training was tough, and it is quite funny that I've now done a 360 and I'm, back running the 800, which I'm actually, I'm super happy with it. I love the transition was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But I don't regret one thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was at one of the Milers Club events, and it might have been it could have even been a 1500. And you said that like you were in for a PB because you hadn't done one since you were 13.
Yeah.
And just watching you across that season, and I think you started pretty, most people will sort of wait, to do their first race in February and peak for nationals and go over to Europe, but I guess you had to start that transition quite early and just keep chipping away. And it was so cool just to see you stick with it and watch those times just gradually fall. You weren't going to run 2:01 off a massive training block leading into a new season. It was going to happen by experience in racing and getting back into those sort of distance races. Was that sort of how you felt about it all?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I first started, it was in 2018, August, September. I got back, it's so embarrassing, but I got back from a 3-month European bender. I just was drinking for 3 months straight. And I came home and we got stuck into the winter training. And I think I knew it would be a slog, because in my mind, I was kind of like, okay, I know what it takes to make the Olympics because I've done it for the 400. Now we've just got to add an extra lap and a lot more mileage. But the work ethic's the same. And I think once I understood the amount of work I had to put in, the results would come. I failed a lot, and we all saw that. It was quite funny and amusing, to be honest. But like I said, it was all worth it. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've learned so much along the way as well. And we do like to start off quite long. We're thinking about changing it once I do get better from this injury. But I do enjoy actually starting off at a 1500 because it is a challenge, and it shows me that even that's still just as fast of a race as the 800. You still got to get out of the blocks off the start line quite fast, and it's nice because I'm always learning things in every race. And I was counting the other day, I think I've only ran maybe 22 or 23 800s, so we've got a long way to go in terms of experience. But I think it's just the nature of just being an athlete. You just want more, and you're ready for anything. And I don't care if I've done 1 or a million, I still want the same goal of going sub 2. So yeah, hopefully we can get there.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
100%. You just notice your progression. It'd be interesting. I don't know if you're into your data and analytics and everything, but it'd be interesting to just plot it along to see progression on a chart of those 22 800. Maybe that's a job for Liz.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to flip over to the 800? I mean, you had great success in running heaps of 400s across multiple championships, multiple years. Why did you decide to do something different?
I think it goes back to me being younger, like just wanting to try new things. I felt like I had exhausted my time in the 400, and there are a lot of comparisons to Kathy Freeman, and I just don't think a lot of the general public understood, one, how quick she is, and two, how fast the rest of the world is currently. And to be honest, I felt like I was busting my butt at training day in and day out. To run 51.2 was incredible, but to hover around 51 high, 52 low just was not where I wanted to be. And I kind of just got tired of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was either, at that point after Com Games, I'd parted ways with my coach and my physio, my strength coach. Everyone had kind of just left, which is unfortunate, but I took it as, okay, it's the universe telling me I need a new team and need to try something different. So, it was either quit or try something new. And I just said, I remember Berkey saying you should try the 800. And when we were running the 4 when I first started, we'd always make our way back. And I thought, okay, well, I'll give the 800 a crack. I genuinely thought I'd just be a rec runner and I just wanted to enjoy the sport again.
Yeah.
And I was pretty content with that. But you know what it's like, you start with winter training and you see what's on the horizon, and I was like, well, Doha would be nice. I've never been. Let's go for it.
You're up for a holiday, basically.
Yeah. So, like Amy said, she's very internally motivated. I'm very much externally motivated, which I don't think is a bad thing. I wish I was more internally motivated. But yeah. So it was pretty cool how it all panned out. I remember writing it in my dream journal. Like, okay, everyone's saying I'm washed up and this and that. Let's just show them that we can do it and put in the hard work. Yeah, it was quite humbling, to be honest, to finally tick that box.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a pretty logical decision in the end. Even Berkey sort of floated the idea saying, why, maybe try the 800.
We've had a lot of good chats, Berkey and I apologise for half of them.
Yeah. I mean, Berkey wasn't your coach at the time when he said, how about you try the 800, and you've sort of had a few coaches over the journey, but Berkey was one of, or maybe was your first coach in athletics, but still remains very, very strong mentor to yourself. I guess, with Berkey on the chat, tell us a bit about
in Hawaii currently.
Yeah. Yeah, Berkey's on holiday as well, we can see. I guess, what tell us about the early days training with Berkey, and maybe that's what you're going to tell us is a big reason of why you still have such a strong relationship with him.
I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Berkey, but I honestly, when I was younger, I was very similar to Amy, and we had a bit of a trio going on with Alicia Newman as well, who now plays football. We just wanted to hang out and have fun, like water bomb fights and soccer and cartwheels. And I think that's the thing I loved about Berkey, is that he had a program, but he understood that we were very young and that you still need to have fun and you need to enjoy life because, you hit 18, 19, 20, and then comes work, taxes, all these other things that you don't want to have to deal with. And I remember I started with Berkey when I was about 9 years old, parted ways when I was 19, 20, going into 2016. But I just knew you can't just leave someone that's put so much effort into your life and your career. I always wanted him around, and I told him that, and I was like, we still need to have this strong bond because I just can't leave you. It was unfortunate because AA kind of were the ones that told me I had to go. Sorry, Berkey, tell me if I'm oversharing. But I just thought, well, if that's the case, I still wanted to be a part of my life because I felt like so much of my career is because of Berkey. And I think Mum was on this chat, which is hi Mum, but I think she can back me up when I would say that I wouldn't actually have this career without him. He just seems to guide all his athletes in the right direction, whether it be on the track or off the track. And so that's one thing I was very appreciative of. And yeah, we've had too many good times. I'm not leaving him. He's not going anywhere.
No, that's great. And yeah, as you said, so many people would attest to that as well. And you can see the results of everyone, and there's always some link back to Berkey, whether it be the breakfast catch-ups or coffees or the chats.
Nights out at the Thai place where he gets his mild beef, Masseni curry. Same water every time.
No, it's great to hear. And obviously, the community at Western Athletics is really important to you as well. Like, I said to Jack, he's living in Glen Iris now, but he's still part of the club in Werribee. Why is that? Like, why is that for you?
Pretty much the same thing. I think from such a young age, you feel like you're part of not just the community, but a family. And I think I really appreciate that. And then it doesn't matter whether you're an Olympian or you're starting out. I love that everyone gets treated with the same respect. And it's just the support from, my transition as a junior into a senior into making teams. I think Western Aths has always had my back, always had Amy's back. Everyone's just got everyone's back. And I don't know, I'm just super appreciative of it. And side note, back to Berkey, probably he'd give me a whack if I tried to leave. But yeah, I'm not going anywhere. And it's nice to see that the club is growing season in, season out. So yeah, it's just a cool club to be a part of and make everything fun, which I like. Yeah,
there's no doubt the strong community feel that Western Avs have. So yeah, I'd absolutely echo exactly what you've said there. I'm interested in just how you balance your busy life, because I know that you said, you mentioned 3-month Europe enders, you mentioned holidays. I know that every other day you're at another F45, and then you've got your training. So how do you keep keep focused on training but enjoy yourself at the same time?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's actually something I'm still learning. Back when I was running the 4, all my eggs were pretty much in that track basket. And then the older I got, the more I realized, wow, this sport doesn't, I've only got a small amount of time left in the sport. I'm getting older. I do want to start having more fun. And then I got injured, and I found that it was my chance to actually explore other avenues off the track, to try and set myself up for that transition for when I do retire. And I think it was kind of bittersweet because I was having so much fun, but I got the balance wrong. So to be honest, I didn't have any balance this year because I've never really had to balance anything but show up to training and then go home and stretch or get a massage. So it was a huge learning curve and learning experience, which I'm grateful for. But I think it's like everything. Every year is different, and it doesn't matter how old you are. We've got to try and get it right, and it's okay if you don't. But at the end of the day, I just knew, okay, partially torn Achilles, things aren't looking great. Let's just try and have fun in any way we can. Looking back now, I wish I had fun, but committed more to my rehab and other stuff. I think I was just trying to distract myself from being injured because it was my first time going through an injury. So yeah, it's probably not the answer you're after, but I did struggle with the balance.
That's probably exactly the answer, because I'm sure a lot of people would feel the same way, trying to find a balance, in everything, and then keeping up the running and the training, which is obviously important for so many people as well. I mean, you're only human. That's a human answer you've just given. It's not an all or nothing type thing. So, and the fact that you've sort of said that, you've always sort of tried to find enjoyment and doing different things, and that's a great thing to hear.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was the other thing that caught me out is if I was sprinting, you kind of can afford to take a day off. Where I feel like with middle distance running, you take a day off and another day off, and it all starts to add up, and then you've lost like so many kilometers worth of training, and things just kind of fall apart.
Yeah, like that. With just on your training, how exactly has it changed? Like, think about a typical week when you were, say, in the thick of 400-meter training compared to a typical week, down at Newport track with Liz doing 800-meter training.
Oh, so different. I reckon I would clock maybe 10 kilometers a week sprinting if I was lucky. Yeah. Like, my warm-up was walk a lap, jog half a lap, walk the other half, because we just talked so much BS. And most of it would just be a lot of walking. Yeah. Which I absolutely loved. And we'd probably take 1 to 2 days off, maybe 2 solid days off actually, and then one regen day, which is like a recovery day, an active recovery day. So yeah, I'd be training 4 to 5 days a week, which is quite sporadic. But then with, transitioning to the 8, it went from that to, it was actually quite a slow build back in 2018. I started on 20 kilometers a week because my body just couldn't handle it. I think I was trying to, detoxify myself of all the alcohol. And then we built to 30K. I got to 40K, and my long run was 8 kilometers on a Sunday. And I remember telling Liz to her face, I will not take another step over 8K. Like, my joints were just aching. Everything was sore. And yeah, sure enough, with a bit of patience, we built our way up in 2019 to, I think, 50K by nationals, and then 60 to 70 by worlds. So for me, it was just like, I can honestly say distance running and training is 20 times harder than sprinting. Now that I've done it both, I would happily go back to the 4. I'm just not fast enough.
So it's not simply like you run an extra lap on the track, or run twice the distance on the track, just do twice the training. It's not that.
And the recoveries are so short, and I don't know. It's just, you've got to wrap your head around a lot of things when you're doing middle distance running, and recovery is just as important, which is something I found out about myself this year. Hence, obviously, why I got injured, because I thought I could just get away with anything. So yeah, the transition was definitely a long one, and we're still trying to build, but still trying to add speed. So again, it's all about balance and getting that right. That's probably the hardest part for me at the moment, is just finding the right balance, not getting injured, have fun, and run fast. making all that work.
Simple.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward or go back to Tokyo, and you mentioned the Achilles injury. So can you talk us through, like, with, don't need to get into too much detail about it all, but talk us through, I guess, the build up to Tokyo, because I know at one point you had to do a race under a certain time to prove that you're fit enough to go and qualify, basically, jump on a plane and represent Australia. And can you briefly tell us about that process?
Yeah. So I guess the whole Achilles thing actually started back in Feb. It was after my season opener, I partially tore it. And we kept training. It just got worse and worse. So I decided to take 2 months off and cancel nationals. We finally got back to some level of training, but I hadn't done any speed, had been in flats pretty much from the start. And I said to Liz, my only chance of making this team is to prove my fitness and going to Queensland and just getting into racing and to race myself into shape. And it was quite funny. I just felt like if we had time to train rather than race, things could have been a little bit more different. But I'm kind of glad I did it, because I raced every single week, and me being me, my times I always start off quite slow. I love a 2:08 opener. And I went down to 2:05, back up, back down, raced by myself into Townsville, back up to 2:07. And I remember I got to Sydney and my Achilles, they were just on fire. My left one was absolutely burning, but I still wanted it so bad. And so AA finally, after a lot of back and forth and a lot of heartache and screaming and crying and emails, they finally let me have boys in the race to pace me around. And I remember they were Ben Liddy's group, and they're a great group, and they were just like, okay, let's just go for it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is like do or die. I don't have another chance.
You mean
I just kind of yeah, I was like, okay, well, looks like we're going for it. And it was the most calm I'd been all season, because I thought, you know what, I've had a great season off the track, I've had a great season on the track, I've learned so much about myself, I've been injured, and I think I've carried myself quite well, keeping all this under wraps. And yeah, we went for it and ran 2:01, and I was we actually did it. It's funny what a little bit of concentration and belief can do. But yeah, after that race, I took 4 days off, and I was pretty much training every second day because my body simply just couldn't handle it, and I was breaking down. And it sucks. Obviously, it does suck, but I always wanted to go to the Olympics for the 800 and be a dual Olympian across 2 events, which is cool. I just obviously wish things had gone differently. And looking back now, I'm kind of like, oh, the 201 said I could run well at the Olympics, but knowing how much pain I was in and how much training I missed out on, should I have gone? You know what I mean? But for me, it was like, you never take up an opportunity. You never miss an opportunity if you're given it to represent your country. So yeah, off we went. And to be honest, it was still a good experience. And actually sharing it with Amy was pretty cool as well, because we were in the same apartment, and it was kind of like weird. We're like, wow, we haven't raced with each other or been in the same team since, I think, like Perth cross country in 2006. Yeah. So yeah, for me it was like,
that's really, I didn't realize that you were staying together. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was just so sweet. And like she said, having Lyndon in our apartment, and then Eleanor Patterson, who came to I think she was in Cairns in 2008 as well. It was just kind of like a Team Vic group of girls in the same apartment, which was sweet. So yeah, there were a lot of experiences that I'm kind of grateful for going to Tokyo. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's good to hear. And I think so many people would be doing exactly the same thing if they were in your position. You got an opportunity to represent your country, you've got an injury, and you need to prove, you basically need to get fit to run at the Olympics. I think anyone would have done it exactly the same way. And it's great to hear that, you're not exactly regretful of everything that happened, and it was still a good experience in the end. So
yeah.
If anyone wants to put any questions through to Morgan in the chat, we might start to read them through now. I do have one that's come through. What memento did all the athletes bring back? Who got a tattoo, and was there anything else?
Actually, to be honest, one of the girls on the team, her partner I think he works for the jewelry company or something, and he has a friend that actually is a jeweler. And so she put it out in the group chat, hey, if you want a ring or a necklace made, this guy's your guy, because we all got it done in Rio. So that was pretty cool to see people putting in their interest, I thought. And then some people were off to get tattoos, obviously, once they're out of quarantine. I didn't get mine because I got the ring. So I thought, because I got a tattoo of the word Rio on my foot after the Rio Olympics.
There you go. So I was about to say, you don't have the Olympic rings tattooed on you.
Go figure.
You got 30 others.
Yeah, I think I'll get like a little sushi or like a samurai sword or some chopsticks or something. But yeah, a lot of people, I don't know, you kind of just go to the store and bring back whatever souvenirs you can find, really. I got a little metal origami, I think it's like a swan, from one of the ladies on the plane. So that was my memento. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. So for me, it was like the best day of my life. It's tiny. It's still sitting in my bag, but I was just like, oh, it's kind of cute.
Yeah,
didn't have to do that.
That little swan.
Yeah.
Any other questions that are coming through? Jack's mum said she's still waiting for souvenirs to come back from Jack, actually. So hopefully you brought something back for your mum, Morgan.
Oh yeah, I always give her the phone. Every Olympics, Samsung, because they're the sponsor, they give you like an Olympic phone.
Oh.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, because I always forget, I'm like, here you go, Mum. Merry Christmas. Didn't get anything else.
Save it for Christmas time. Read Breeze just asked something that there was on the tip of my tongue as well. What's your next goal? So I guess probably similar to Amy in that you've got an injury to sort of look after right now. But yeah. Once that's all good, what's going to be happening?
Next goal on the track is obviously to get fit, and then I want to get my 1500 meter time down. That's probably my main goal. And then from there, it's like, okay, if that's down and my speed is up, we'll try and qualify for Worlds and Com Games. And then off the track, to finally graduate my course. I'm studying very slowly, but I'd like to graduate by the end of this year, start of next year. And then, kind of just transition into more of that design space with fashion, to be honest. Just keep having that balance.
What course are you doing?
I'm studying fashion marketing and business. Yeah, pretty cool. Different.
So actually, how long have you been doing that course for? You say it's been
only 2 years. Only 2 years.
That's all right.
Yeah, I should be done this year, but we'll see.
Very good. I like that you've got those non-running goals as well. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it only took me 26 years.
That's right. You've been busy running 400 meters. Great years.
It's funny. I never used to believe in it, like having goals off the track and studying and stuff. So until like now that I've been through it, I'm like, yeah, you need to tell every single up and coming athlete have goals off the track, because if you have nothing, it's a scary place to be in. So.
I think that all suit you perfectly. Here we go. What advice do you have for young, talented athletes?
Young, talented athletes. Oh, the first thing I always say is to just have fun. And like, if you, like a lot of the young athletes that we train with, because they're always asking those questions, especially as they're coming into later stages of life. And, you know, they're going from like 14, 15 to 16, 17, 18. They're always like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, you just got to follow your heart and do what you want to do. Like, it's your life. You can always come back to apps. That's what I did, and I was still successful. So it's okay, while you can and while you're young and fit and healthy, take the break, go try a different sport if you want, but you can always come back. Athletics isn't going anywhere. And just to be patient, because I just don't think it's great being a superstar kid, but it's also like, I don't remember anything I did when I was 10 years old or 11 years old. All I remember was I was having fun. Yes, I won some races, I lost some races, but I made a lot of good friends. I'm still friends with them today. And I think that's the important part, is just to kind of make those connections, learn about yourself as a person, and just to try everything, you know, because you never know. I think sport's a great thing to kind of catapult you into a different area of life down the track as well. And that's one thing I've found that works. But yeah, for me, it's definitely just to have fun, try everything. And if you want to try something else, that's okay, because athletics is always going to be there, like it was for me. So yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very tough, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that all the younger athletes at Western Athletes and in your training squad as well. Clearly look up to you, so it's good that you can, I guess, show them, the way, leading by example, but also, pass on that valuable advice as well.
Yeah.
No more questions coming through, and I think we're coming up to the end of the Zoom call. Is that right, Claire? Very good. Yeah, she just messaged me. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Morgan. It's been a great chat. It's been really interesting to hear about the Tokyo build-up and, your life balance and the transition from 400s to 800s. And be looking forward to calling a few of your races at Milers Club this season.
Yeah. I might start off in a 3K just for fun.
Yeah, why not? You're always trying something new. Maybe throw a couple of shot puts at Shield.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd do that. 100%. You need the points on your girl.
Yeah.
Favorite event.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was good seeing everyone again as well.
Thanks, Morgan, and thanks, Amy and Jack, if you're still on the call. And thank you, everyone, for popping through your questions this morning. We'll see you next time. It's been a great morning, and catch everyone at the track.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks,
Morgan. Bye. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Morgan.
Guys.
Bye.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Hang on a sec, Michael.